What about webhooks? So if you're not familiar with the concept of webhooks, this is a way for you to fetch data, but it's different from what most developers are used to. With REST APIs, you're basically pulling data from a specific provider, in this case, WorkOS, right? Like, so you're making requests to WorkOS, WorkOS is giving you data back. But with webhooks, it's different. It's the provider pushing you updates, so you don't need to keep like always checking, oh, is the new data there or not? So, excuse me. So let's take a look at a real example of how webhooks work. So imagine with like a REST API, you're like always like polling in order to see if there's new data. So at 9 a.m. you make a request and you see, okay, is there new data from me? No. 9:30 you do it again. At 10 you do it again. Until eventually at 12 p.m. okay, now there's new data, and then you fetch that data and update your system. Now that's not optimal, right? You need a scheduler to keep fetching that data, and you're always like doing that unnecessary transport. So with webhooks, you can just configure an endpoint on your server, and whenever there's an update, we'll go and then we'll hit that endpoint for you. And this way you can build apps that will react in real time to whatever is changing in terms of directories or SSO integrations. And this is the anatomy of a webhook. You get only what changed. In this example, we have like a new user that is coming in, and we can see the state, we can see the first name, last name of that user. And now with that object, I can just propagate the changes to my UI or to my database. So what are we changing in terms of the webhooks? The first thing that we reviewed was the initial integration. We went to that screen and we're like, okay, how can we make this better? And one of the things we wanted to do is highlight the certain events that have high traffic so you can prepare for those. We also wanted to allow you to enable multiple events at once. So the whole experience of creating new endpoints, new webhook endpoints, has been updated. So check it out. We also changed the error notifications. We know that it's really important to know when something isn't working anymore. And we have a system that will retry multiple times when a webhook fails. And we want to give you that visibility as soon as possible. So we're looking at our emails and we are updating the entire format to give you the right information at the right time. And we are improving the way you can monitor your webhook endpoints. So now you have this side-by-side view where you can inspect every single event, see exactly what was the HTTP response, what was the object that returned. And with that, we want to empower you to debug faster and like filter by certain states and all that. So many interesting things here, many improvements to that whole workflow, and we hope you're gonna like it. So now I'm gonna pass it over to David to show us a demo of how that works in practice.
Hi everyone, my name is David and I'm a software engineer here at WorkOS. And today I'm thrilled to be showing you some of the improvements we've been making to the experience around integrating and monitoring webhooks. Let's begin with the integration experience. To get started with webhooks, we'll navigate to the webhooks page and we can click Create Webhook Endpoint to configure our endpoint for receiving webhook events from WorkOS. We've improved the creation flow, making it easier to select the events you want to receive, highlighting events that can generate a large amount of traffic, and pointing you to our best practices guide for building out your webhooks integration. Let's take a look. So in this guide, we've documented some tips on handling events, securing your endpoint, and testing your endpoint. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our webhook endpoint for my very descriptive app, developerapp.com. In order to test it, I can send a test event to my endpoint using the Send Test button here to check if my endpoint is receiving and processing a specific event type. We can see below that our test failed, and in the details pane, I can see my endpoint responded with a 418. Oops, I just remembered that this is an old endpoint and I have a typo in my URL. Let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, now that we fixed it, we can either send another test or click resend event here from the detail pane. Let's save some steps and resend the failed event. Nice, it worked. So resend works for both test payloads and real webhook payloads. However, resend only works in staging environments for now. We don't allow this in production environments to prevent you from potentially muddying your production data. Okay, let's switch gears and look at an endpoint that we've already integrated with that are receiving real events to get a taste of some of the other improvements we made. So here in the summary, we're giving you a better sense of the health and state of your endpoint. As you may notice by now, webhook details are shown alongside the list of individual webhook requests, so you can quickly navigate between them to find what you're looking for. We've also improved search. You can search by an event, state, email, or some of its contents like an ID or a specific event type. Let's say I'm looking for all of my webhook requests related to a particular directory user. I can paste in his email and see all the related requests from WorkOS to help me understand what happened with this user. I can further filter by the state and type of events to narrow down what I'm looking for. So that's a wrap for webhook updates. We hope you enjoy these changes, and we're working hard on continuing to make it easier to integrate with WorkOS.
Thank you so much, David. And that's webhooks. We have a new side-by-side view to help with debugging. We have updated error emails so you can get to the technical details faster, and also a more robust filtering experience for you. So really excited about this.